It's more focused on the data and on the data collection and collecting that in a very special way. So it's in real time, directed and sent to the customer. So it's flying for, not just flying, it's flying for actually doing some mission or collecting some data or getting some business results from that.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 351. What's the latest in UAS Flight Controllers? For that question, we head to London, England, and speak with Kirill Shilov, founder and CEO of SkyDrones Technologies. SkyDrones creates professional, full-stack UAV avionics solutions, such as flight control, ground control, and communication systems, as well as a cloud-based management platform. The company helps its global customers build and operate drones for security and commercial applications. With a master's in Aerospace Engineering, Kirill majored in flight dynamics and control. His professional areas of interest include flight control systems, unmanned aerial vehicles, autopilot systems, electronics, software, and embedded programming. Before starting SkyDrones Technologies, he worked as an engineer at ACSL in Tokyo and Perspective Robotics in Zurich. In this edition of the Drone Radio Show, Kirill talks about SkyDrones Technologies, the company's flight control systems, and how the technology is supporting enterprise clients across the globe. But before we hear from Kirill, I want to thank those of you who are supporting my funding campaign. Whether it's $1, $100, or much more, you can help defray the cost of production and keep the podcast going and growing. Go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And by the way, if you have a great story on the use of drones that you'd like to share in a podcast, contact me at randy@droneradioshow.com. So let's learn about the latest in flight controllers with Kirill Shilov of SkyDrone Technologies. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Kirill to introduce himself.
My name is Kirill Shilov. I'm a founder and CEO of SkyDrones Technologies. Basically, we do flight control systems for enterprise drones. And now it's actually a lot more. It's not just the flight control, it's the full stack solution and technology for unmanned vehicles, from autopilots to data links to cloud connectivity, and also lots of software which is deployed on board.
Kirill, how long has SkyDrones been in business?
So actually it all started back almost 11 years ago, back in 2011 when I was a student at the university. My project was to create the flight control system hardware and software. So at that time, the main goal was to make sure that drone can fly stable, reliable. And later, basically, I got attracted by this topic, and we published our results on the website, on YouTube channel, and people started to get interested in that. And that's how we started our first sales. So basically around 2014, 2015, we started to get first units sold and customers were happy about that. And later, more of my friends back at the university joined the company, and we started to develop more technology and more solutions and more products. And that's how it was converted into the company. For the past 3 years, it's basically doubling its sales twice each next year. And we are growing exponentially. So that's very exciting times right now.
That's a great story. I mean, you're probably one of the first adopters in the commercial small UAS market.
I remember the story once I was just going out with the drone for some flight testing in the park. People didn't know at that time what was that. So everybody was just asking, is that kind of like new antenna for television? So yeah, that was very funny.
Where's the company based?
Currently, we are based in London, United Kingdom. This is where we have R&D office, and the production is also here in the UK.
Of all of the products that SkyDrones produce, which one is considered its flagstaff product?
I would say it's Airlink, definitely, at the moment. So this is the flight control system plus onboard computer plus LTE connectivity device. And that's all in one unit, which is easy to use, easy to integrate, and it's very scalable.
How has this flight controller changed since it was first introduced 8 years ago?
I would say it's kind of like sixth generation of the system. So we basically have complete new version each 2 years, and we have minor change each 1 year. Main difference is that now it has a lot more connectivity, a lot more capabilities to work with the multimedia, with the video processing on board, with LTE, 4G, 5G. So back then, it was just a flight control to make sure that the drone is able to take off, fly waypoints, get back home. But now it's more about focusing on the mission and giving the customers capability to do lots of cool stuff on board.
What can customers do with Airlink?
So basically, we provide very rich, basic full stack solution. So they can stream video to the cloud, to the ground station. They can control remotely from the headquarters or from the handheld device. And at the same time, the system is open. For instance, some of our customers, they do their own projects based on Airlink and the overall API and SDK. And they can deploy their own software, which they develop internally and does not commit that back. So this is one of the collaboration models for our customers.
What makes Airlink different from other flight controllers?
I would say there is very little number of companies who do flight control plus mission computer plus LT all in one. There might be just a few of them. Most of the drone flight control market is still based on just the flight controller. And in case customers would like to add some kind of connectivity or video processing functionality, they need to work with external devices like NVIDIA Jetson or Raspberry Pi or Orange Pi or just something like that. So Airlink and very little number of its competitors, so they have all-in-one. In terms of why Airlink is better than the others, I would probably say it's more compact, it's more like all-in-one, and it also has different ways of how customers can use that. So normally they can start with Airlink Enterprise, which is easy to install, easy to adopt, good for prototyping. Then once they would like to have that more deeply integrated into the airframe, they can switch to Airlink Core, which is just the electronics without the enclosure. So it's more compact, it's lightweight. And finally, once they would like to go towards the mass production stage, they can switch to Airlink Reference Design, meaning that in that case, they can get the schematics and the board design and layout and everything from Skydrones, and later just modify that and set up the production of their local manufacturing. So they don't need to care about the logistics, customs, and etc., and they can control all the process from the very beginning to the final product they built.
And if I understand you correctly, customers can customize the Airlink so that, in essence, it becomes part of their own drone.
Exactly. So let's suppose that they don't need some of the functionality we offer in standard Airlink version, but probably it's missing something. And in that case, we are more than happy to help customers to customize the existing design to exactly what they need and make sure it's fully deeply integrated within their airframe or their own design.
And I assume for owners of multiple drones, it's basically one Airlink for each drone.
Yeah, that's correct. So Airlink, it's kind of like the unit which goes into the drone. So one drone, one Airlink. And then they have also the radio, which is on the ground, and they can have, for instance, multiple drones connected to one single radio, or they can have also multiple radios installed within the range of operation. So it's kind of like forming the mesh network. Or they can also use just the Skydrones cloud, meaning that they can log in online and can control drone using LTE connection. And they don't need any hardware on the ground, and they don't need any additional software except just logging into the web browser on their computers.
Tell us about some of Airlink's innovative features.
I would say the coolest thing about that, it's all about the connectivity. So for instance, for one of the inspection projects, the operator can go onto the inspection site, deploy the drone, take off, and control that using the handheld device, SmartLink controller. So operator can do manual or autonomous flight. It just depends on his preference. He sees the real-time video. And at the same time, people sitting in the headquarters can also see exactly the same real-time video in the cloud without installing any additional software. And they can also share the public or private link to that video stream, which is coming live with ultra-low latency. And also they can give pilot different commands or suggestions on how to modify the mission, on how to fly differently. So it becomes fully collaborative workflow between the drone, between the operator on the site, and between the team back in the headquarters. So Airlink and the entire ecosystem, it's kind of like built around this technology, and this is what it's for.
Is it fair to say that a drone using Airlink is more focused on the qualitative needs of the client rather than on the technical side of the piloting?
I would say it's more focused on the data and on the data collection and collecting that in a very special way. So it's in real time, directed and sent to the customer. So it's flying for, not just flying, it's flying for actually doing some mission or collecting some data or getting some business results from that.
What type of autonomy is built into the system?
So at the moment, we have fully GPS-based navigation from takeoff to landing, meaning that you can just actually plan the mission from full autonomous takeoff to full autonomous landing with the waypoints. Then we also have different autonomy features related to the computer vision, meaning that, for instance, if you have some object which you would like to track, for instance, that can be a moving car driving down the road. So you can select that car and that will be automatically tracked with the video. So the drone will follow that direction and also the camera gimbal will be following that object. So this is actually the artificial intelligence part of the component.
There was a recent article about a partnership between Sky Drones and Amazon Web Services. Can you talk about the partnership and tell us what it means to both companies?
It was just announced about a week ago. The integration was completed about a month ago. So the cool thing about this is that you probably know that AWS provides lots of different services, and now they are quite a lot focused on robotics. And their main goal is that robotics companies can actually deploy and develop their own software a lot faster because they don't need to focus on the low-level underlying software, which is probably kind of like data storage or some sort of neural networks processing or connectivity or just etc. And they can leverage standard technology from AWS, which is very useful for robotics. And in that case, Airlink becomes fully officially supported hardware, meaning that AWS Greengrass is pre-installed in there and it's just a lot easier to develop new software because customers don't need to just build that from the ground. They have a lot, which is they probably already familiar with, or it's just easy to continue development.
Does it also extend the reach of your company into a new user network?
Yeah, of course, definitely. So now we are officially listed on the AWS Greengrass website because it's officially supported hardware, which is good for us. And at the same time, it helps AWS also step into the drones market because so far they didn't have any dedicated flight controller and Airlink became the first one, which is very exciting for themselves as well.
How well integrated is Airlink with the Internet of Things and being able to connect with other smart cities communication types?
I would say we are recently highly relying on the 4G and 5G networks. So it provides a lot of flexibility in terms of the communication because before it was just standard two-way radio with good bandwidth. So that's okay. But at the same time, the range was limited to roughly about 20 kilometers in rural areas and about 10 kilometers in the city areas. And that's kind of like limiting the conditions for BVLOS flights because we all know that it's all about BVLOS in the future for drones. And then you have kind of like two options. So the first one, you need to increase the emitted power for RF, which is not ideal because in that case, you need to go for authorities and approve a lot of paperwork. And that takes time that probably can get refused and so on. While 4G and 5G, it's a lot easier because you have coverage pretty much anywhere here at the moment where you have operations. And at the same time, you don't need to care about any paperwork, about any power limitations. So it just works with very good bandwidth. It's also very lightweight. The power consumption is not that bad. So I would say it's more about switching towards 4G and 5G compared to just traditional radio systems.
Does 4G and 5G and even future iterations of that spectrum provide the opportunity for drones to interact with other data sources? I'm thinking of a drone flying through an urban environment and able to tap into traffic patterns or congestion management systems, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually one of the projects we have completed just last year. It's related to UTM, unmanned traffic management, and it's all about providing the information to UTM and ATC, the information about the real-time drone position and its mission using 4G and 5G networks. So it's just basically the example you have just outlined, and that was completed as a pilot project, and now we are deploying that at more different airports, and that should become nationwide standard at some point.
We talked about Airlink. What about some of the other products that Sky Drones produces?
So basically, Airlink is the centerpiece of the hardware and software ecosystem, but we also do have a lot of other products which are related to connectivity. So this is the Airlink telemetry, This is the data link, which allows you to get up to 20 kilometers direct line of sight communication range. There is also navigation components, which is GNSS, supporting RTK as well. Also, we have lots of power distribution units, allowing to customers to organize their power supply from the battery, distribute that to the ESCs and to the motors, power the flight controller, power all the peripherals. To speak about software, this is the ground control station software called SmartAP GCS, which allows you to run your mission planning software and configuration software on any device from smartphones to desktops and on any operating system, including Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, and iOS. And there is also SkyDrones Cloud, which is the web-based application allowing you to, again, plan the flight missions online, do your asset management, and monitor remote workflows, including the real-time video feed and telemetry.
What industries are best suited to use the system?
I would say it's kind of like transforming through the time and through the requirements from the drone industry itself. We saw a huge spike for the inspections quite a few years ago. And now we can see that there is the trend which is changing towards the delivery. So there is like rise of lots of delivery applications with drones. And we can see that we have a great fit in there. Also, lots of specific applications in agriculture for seeding and planting. And we're also exploring quite a lot for the defense and security market at the moment. So I would say it's kind of like evolving through time and kind of like trying to meet all the requirements from the specific industry which is in demand at the moment.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
No, I would say it's pretty much everything. So Airlink is the centerpiece components, and the rest is just basically built to support that on the hardware and software level.
When you wrote the paper many years ago, did you have any idea that it was going to lead to a new company?
I don't know. I just did what I liked from the very beginning. It all started with radio control motors of airplanes when I was a kid. And later it was more about just programming, computers, electronics, microcontrollers. And that's how it was eventually leading to what we have now.
Is it still just as much fun as it was when you started?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very excited about what we do. And we always try to be at the forefront and staying at the cutting edge, working with the top companies and trying to foresee all the trends in the industry to make sure that we deliver products which are in demand on the market.
What's been your greatest challenge?
I think probably the hardest one was to design and develop all the technical aspects of that, because there is a lot into the programming, into the hardware, into the software. So it was a lot about like learning, implementing, then trying to improve and so on. So lots of those iterations. So that's from the technical point of view. From the business point of view, it's probably trying to educate our users and customers and make sure that the system is easy to use, easy to install, easy to support, and so on, because it's kind of like complicated and everybody does not have that much amount of experience. So I would say, yeah, we are focusing on the products which are very easy to use, very easy to install, and that one of the hardest things probably.
How do you work with clients to make it easy for them to understand that the products can provide benefit?
The first thing, we have very detailed online documentation, which is covering all aspects. It has a lot of explanations, hints, pictures, videos, etc. So if you follow the steps, you will be like 99% successful. If not, then customers can write to our support, and we have customer success managers who will be able to get deeper into your question and help you with all the issues and listen to you and understand what is not right. And at the same time, if there is some special requirements, we can even bring our software and hardware engineers to resolve the issue. And in case there is some modification needed, we can also help with that.
What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs?
Probably just try to identify the things and the lack on the drone market. So there is kind of like a lot going on in there, but at the same time, there is still a lot to do. And that's the right time. It's not too late. It's not too early. It's just perfect time to start. So I would say if you really like to do what you're doing and there is the gap on the market for this particular technology, so obviously a great moment to start. And probably the most important thing is just don't afraid to start.
What's next for SkyDrones?
We will be introducing some new products. Basically, that's the logical continuation of the existing products range, but more advanced in terms of the connectivity. Also, lots of ongoing work on the software and new AI capabilities. Airlink is kind of like basis for very powerful hardware. And at the same time, software is not that advanced just yet, but we have a lot in mind and a lot in development. So it will probably be a lot into just evolving the software and increasing the autonomy levels and increasing the artificial intelligence level of the unit.
For anyone that's listening and thinking about trying Airlink, what would you want to say to them?
I would say probably Airlink is the way to go for all new drone ventures, because it will allow you to save your time to market. You'll be able to deploy the products a lot faster, a lot easier, and you will have also plenty of potential for scaling. So I would say that's the main message.
And for my final question, Kirill, what message would you like to leave regarding the future of the drone industry?
I think it's evolving quite rapidly at the moment, and it's the right time. So before, it was probably not that technically advanced and not that regulations advanced. But at the moment, we can see that all the things are in the place. So the previous decade was more about just setting up the technology and regulations, but this decade will be all about actually deploying the systems, and we will see actually rise of drones within the next decade. So I'm very excited about that.
That's it for episode 351 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Kirill Shilov of SkyDrones. I want to thank Kirill for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about SkyDrones or want to connect with Kirill, check out the website at sky-drones.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $1, you can help defray the cost of production. To donate, go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Gores.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.